Hey guys, I want to make a quick video for week 3. I'm going to start off this video by apologizing for my children making noise in the background. Last week we started looking at some trig, and we started, sorry, my phone is doing so funky, okay. We started by identifying the sides of a triangle. We learned how to find the hypotenuse, the opposite and adjacent of a triangle. And then we learned how to use them to find a side length. What we're doing this week is we're going to use the inverse of these functions to find angle length. So if we're missing an angle. So to do that, we need to know what our function's going to look like. So we have our 3 formulas still. This symbol right here means angle. So our angle is equal to the inverse of tangent. This -1 up in the corner means we're using the inverse. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. Here, our angle equals the inverse of cosine, and that is adjacent over hypotenuse. And then our last one is our angle equals the inverse sine, opposite over hypotenuse. So we have our 3, and they can give us a problem that might look something like this, where we have a right triangle, with our right angle. And they can give us the sides, so they could say this is 7, this is 24, this is 25. They give us all the side lengths. And potentially they might only give us 2, and then we'd have to figure out which one we are allowed to use. Maddie, a little quieter, babe. A little quieter. And then they could label our angles. So we have angle X right here and angle Y. And then they can say, find the measurement of angle X. So the first thing we need to do is label our sides. We always have to label our sides. And to do that, we need to identify where we're looking from. In this case, we're looking from angle X. So I put a little mark so I know where I'm looking from. And now I'm just going to go down and label my sides. I know that my hypotenuse is always across from my right angle. So I'm going to put a big H over here. Or maybe I won't. Let me get a different marker. There we go. And another way to think about it is it's across from my right angle. It's the diagonal, but it can't touch my right angle. So this leg touches my right angle. This leg touches my right angle. So I can't use those 2 legs for my hypotenuse. For my opposite, I start at my angle that I'm going to be trying to find, and I go to the opposite side, which is my 24 over here. And again, my opposite can't touch the angle I'm trying to be away from. So I can't use this leg because it runs into my angle. I can't use this leg because it runs into my angle. And my last is adjacent, which runs from my right angle to the angle I'm trying to find. So now that I have them all labeled, and luckily I have all 3 sides, so I can pick any one I want. So I'm going to do my angle equals the inverse of tangent, opposite over adjacent. And then I'm going to fill it in my angle. I don't know what that is, but instead of putting the angle sign, let me put what they put. And they said this angle is called X. My inverse tangent. My opposite is 24, and my adjacent is 7. And at this point, I have my X isolated. It's by itself. So because it's by itself, this whole group here can go into the calculator. And if I plug it into the calculator, I get that X equals 73.7, something like that. And that is my answer, okay? Oop, let me move my camera back, okay? And I can use any of these and I would get the same answer because I'm trying to find the same angle. So if I went and decided I wanted to use sine opposite over hypotenuse, well, I know my opposite is 24. My hypotenuse is 25. And if I put this into a calculator, I get, again, the same thing. So it doesn't matter which one you use, you're going to get the same thing. Sometimes they won't give you all the information, and you're going to have to figure out which one you could use. So for example, they could give you that. And in that case, you don't have an option. You don't know what your opposite is, so you can't use that side. You know your hypotenuse, you knew your adjacent, so then you can come up to your chart and say, okay, which one of these do I have an A and an H for? I don't here, yes, no. So I know I have to use cosine. And again, angle equals the inverse of cosine, which is A over H, because I took away that side and I don't know what it is, so I had to figure out I can only use cosine right now. Plug it in. Cosine, and my adjacent is 7, my hypotenuse is 25. I put that into my calculator and I get that this angle right here is 73.7 degrees. Okay, so now I can change it and I can redraw my original drawing that I had up there for y'all. I had 7, 25, 24, and I had X and Y. And now, in the same thing, they can give you one drawing, ask you to find the measurement of angle X, and they could turn around and say, great, now what is the measurement of angle Y? So, again, my first step, I need to label my triangle. My hypotenuse stays the same no matter what. No matter what angle I'm looking at, that's always the same across. But now I am looking from over here. And if I'm starting over here and I'm looking for my opposite, I go to the opposite side, and now my opposite is 7. And this side right here hits my angle, it can't be used. The 25 hits my angle, it can't be used. This is my side that's left over. It's my adjacent that goes from the right angle to the angle I'm looking at. So now I can pick any one of those that I want. Do cosine again. And I'm looking for Y. The inverse of cosine is adjacent, which is now 24. Its number changed. Over 25. I plug that in the calculator and I get 16.2. And it doesn't matter which one I choose. If I'm given all 3 sides, I can use any of these up here that I want to. Okay? And again, they could choose to limit our information. They could leave that off. And so with that one, again, I need to look and see what information do I have that I can use. I can use this 7, I can use this 24, so I have O and A. So if I look, which is going to let me use O and A, and this is the first one, tangent is O over A. plug it in, what I know. So again, I could leave it as the angle symbol if I want, but I'll put in Y since we know that that angle is called Y. The inverse, O over A, my O is 7, my adjacent is 24. And if I plug that into the calculator, I get 16.2 again. So I have identified that my triangle, if it has a 24 for a side, a 7. Madeline, a little quieter, kiddo. I'm so sorry, y'all. I know that this is 16.2, and then we figured out earlier that this one was around 73. Okay? One more way you can see this is if they gave you they didn't give you a drawing. They can just give you a statement, and they could say the cosine of y is equal to the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And let's go ahead and put our 25 back in. Okay? And they cannot give you the drawing. They could just give you this statement and say A equals 24, H equals 25. We plug those in. And this is the functions we used last time. Right now it's set up because what's this over here? This is our side measurement. So it's set up to find a side. Well, we don't need to find a side. We don't need regular cosine. We need the inverse to find our angle y. So what we can do here is we're going to take the inverse of this side, and then we're going to take the inverse of this side. These will cancel out, and we are left with y, what we want. This will just rearrange. The cosine of -1 is 24 over 25. Plug that in your calculator, and then get your 16.2. Okay? That is it. If you have any questions, give me a call. Or not give me a call, but send me a message, and we can talk through some more examples. I hope this helped you understand a little bit more what this week was about.